Well. It has been a minute, Kiki.
Yes.
So we followed you all of last year, and then we took a break, and now we're back, and so much has happened. It's been almost, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months since we last talked. We talked right before school got out last year. So, before we dive into all of the wonderful things that have happened with you, what's up, what's new, let's just kind of start with like, what are three emotions or sentiments that you're sitting with right now? It could be about the process, it could be about teaching. What are three things that you're feeling right now?
For my process, definitely excited because the end is near. I feel ready because I've gone through it and I'm just, ready to get it done, but also anxious because it's like, all right, submissions in 4 months, like, well, technically three if you don't really count this month. So, yes, that's how I feel.
Valid. Valid. I think all of those feelings are ones that people can relate to, especially if you've already received scores, so you've seen feedback and you like know what you want to do moving forward, or even if this is like your first foray into the process, knowing that countdown, even though January feels like it took 84 years,
Yes.
I feel like moving forward, like that time is gonna go quickly, and then you're gonna be like, oh wait, it's May and submission is here. So I think all of those things are so valid. So with that in mind, I kind of already teed us up that it has been a while since we checked in with one another. And I know a lot has happened for you professionally. I have to share this quick anecdote with you. Someone who has listened to the podcast emailed me a few weeks ago and with just like have you seen this? You should be so proud. And I was like, what is this? Like I knew who the person was who was sending it to me, and there was an attachment attached, and lo and behold, guess who was in that attachment, Kiki?
I'm guessing me.
It was 100% you on the cover of a magazine. And someone who listens to the podcast like put two and two together, and they were like, this like Kiki, right? And I was like, that's her. So you are well known. Big things are happening besides being on the cover of magazines. Let us know like a few highlights since the last time we've talked.
Since the last time we talked, this past weekend was the Texas National Board Conference, which was phenomenal. There were so many great PDs by so many different types of educators, and just being in a room full of just accomplished teachers and teachers working to be accomplished like me, it just feels so overjoyed and exciting. And I got the President's Award for positive influence on accomplished teaching, which was so wild to me. I was definitely not expecting that, and I'm so grateful. And there's just so many people who has really helped me to get to where I am today. That has really like poured into helping me feel accomplished, helping me with my writing, making sure I'm not making it fluffy and being clear and concise and all the things. And then I also went to a PD in Philly 2 weekends ago just to expand on my social studies knowledge. I
Mhm.
just think it's so important to always grow in your career, and I just had the best time. And I just know like really nerdy facts. Like, did you know Thomas Jefferson's favorite food was macaroni, cheese, and ice cream? And then he loved tomatoes, but he didn't eat them as much because they thought they were poisonous. And so, it's like whenever I'm teaching about it, I can throw in all of these things. And then the magazine, that was wild. I was not expecting to be the cover. They had mentioned it to me when I shared a bunch of photos. And they're like, hey, right now we have you on the cover and we really like it. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really think about it until I saw it in my mailbox. And I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. Never in my wildest dreams thought this would happen. And then I'm going to be on a cover of a book with a Raising America EDU, and it's about stories of 80 different influential educators and just about their journey and where they are in life. And so that one was really awesome. I won 2 grants to be able to do teacher PD and another like really crazy innovative idea that I have. And then a nonprofit that I am a fellow for, the Leaders Readers Network. Absolutely love them. They just donated 750 books to my school for World Read Aloud Day. So we're going to try and give them out to all the kinder through third grade students. And so lots of cool things happening. And I'm just happy to share the wealth with everyone so everyone around me can like reap the benefits too.
Okay, so there's a few things. One, I'm grateful that this is like a audio podcast because I'm very much like that meme of like if my mouth doesn't say it, my face will. So painting a picture for the audience, my mouth has been agape like the whole time. Like Kiki as another thing and another thing. I'm just like, what? Like what? And two, I just like want to take a moment to hold space and honor the fact that while you are doing all of these things, I can hear and I can see you demonstrate that while it might be like your face, your name, it's not just you, right? Like the books for students, the grant ideas, the stories of influential educators, like it's just not you. And I'd love to hear how you're able to spread your experiences and your opportunities to impact and support others.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a lot that you just shared with us. And one, my question is how do you manage it all? And it's going to be a two-parter, right? So one, how do you manage it all? And then two, what if any of the things that you share have either impacted or informed your national board process and journey? Like what are you bringing in to your I thinking of all the cool opportunities and experiences that you've had?
So the how I handle it all is I really like to be busy and do a lot of the things, but then I'll intentionally block out days where I'm like I just can't do it so then I have some time for me. And I'm also the type who likes to do a lot of meetings in one day rather than spread them out. Like some days I'll have 4 meetings after school and I'd rather just do it all and have the rest of the week free. And I'm also just passionate about it. I just think it's really cool and fun to just dip into all the different like fellowships and opportunities that are out there for teachers. And then how this relates to my journey, it just allows me to really expand my professional learning network. And usually it's like PLC, but every teacher has something to offer. And I love learning about different states and what they do and what works for them and how I can bring it back to my school and my team. And I'm just like to be reflective. And I've been able to share my ideas with so many because so many people have poured into me. I mean, this is my 10th year teaching. And so I just had like stepping stones each year. I grew and it has helped me. And there was a girl actually at the conference who came up to me and she was like, she told me her story and she told me that she listened to the podcast and she just thanked me for being vulnerable. And I said, girl, I'm right there with you. And he told me that she certified this year finally. And I said, girl, you go, girl. And I said, and you'll see me next year. And so just like people wanting to come share their story with me, I'm just grateful to hear about it.
Yeah, I think people are probably so willing and wanting to sharing their stories with you because just like she stated, you have been so transparent, you've been super vulnerable about like what things work and what didn't work. And so I think when people hear you, they see you, right? And so when they get them the opportunity to actually meet you in person, it's like I've been waiting all this time to like respond to you via podcast, but like now I get to do it in person and that's so awesome. And so, too, Kiki, I think I want to highlight something that you said about not only these opportunities like helping you to grow, but being connected and building your network. Of the fellowships and things that you shared earlier, would you say they're mostly like statewide things, a little bit of both, like national and state, as you think about how you've expanded your network over the 10 years of teaching?
I have groups for different things.
Gotcha.
Being a part of many global fellowships,
Mm,
I have a lot of national friends. And so we actually, when I was a part of the NEA Global Fellowship, after our fellowship was done, we all still stay really connected. And that's how we joked about having a mini reunion in Philly because 13 of us applied and we got in. And
wow.
so being able to, I feel like I've known these people my whole life, and it's just so great to hear their stories. And we always are throwing things in the chat like, hey, I have this issue. Who can help me? And we're always there to support one another. If there's a PD, we all will apply to it if we're free, just having those people who want to walk life with you. And then in the state level, I have like this weekend I'm going to TCEA. It's like the ed tech conference for the state, and I have like those types of friends where I'm like excited to see them. It's like a yearly thing. I get to see you, connect with you, see how you're doing, what is working good for you that I can adapt to my learning, all the things.
I love that so much, and I resonate with that. It's funny that you were talking about like how there's this like global friendship that you build in friendships, and like how you maintain and cultivate those relationships. I had a very similar experience in one of the national fellowships I was a part of, and just this week, even though we're all in different spaces, like in this group, no one's a classroom teacher anymore. I'm at national board. Someone works at a state department, and someone is working on their doctorate. But like the moment that text hits of like, "Hey, do you have a resource for, or has anybody heard from?" It's like we just fall back into our old like relationship, and it's so nice that like I have someone in Utah, someone in DC, someone in California that just I know has my back professionally, and that is such an important thing I think to have as we do this work and we continue to build networks and think through how we can best support our students, right? Because I learned so much from all of those people that I just shared about, and it sounds like you do too. So that's amazing. So amazing.
Yes.
So, Kiki, you brought up one of my personal favorite words, both professionally and personally, reflection. I am a journaler by heart. I journal about every aspect of life, professional and personally. And to me, the national board process really does heighten that skill set or that disposition within teachers, right? To take a moment to pause, and in that pause, take time to think and reflect and analyze. And so, part of the work that we're doing here at National Board is really taking time to think about dispositions and mindsets, right? We're exploring and expanding resources around what kind of mindset does someone need going into this process? Like, what should you be able to do or know or experience before going through a process that could take you a year, 2, 3 years, up to 5 years. And so I'm curious, as you think about your own journey, how has mindset for you either shifted, been strengthened? What do you think is like crucial when you think about mindset as you go through this process?
For this process, it really took me a year of just listening and sitting through all the meetings. So
Mm,
technically, this is my third year, but I really only started submitting last year. So when I started, I attended every meeting, I heard everything, and I just felt like I had a really slow processing time. And so being able to read through it, do the color coding, read the rubrics, practice writing has led me to where I am now because
mm,
when I was at the conference, there were some fresh new candidates and they kept saying like, I really don't know where to start. I don't know how to write. And I said, I got you. Let me help you because I understand it now. I can give you a starting point and help them feel like you're not the only one that was lost in the beginning. And being able to say that now, I'm like, oh, I kind of do know what I'm doing now. It's really exciting. So just know yourself and know
mm,
your mindset and how you learned. I've actually started realizing I'm actually more auditorial than visual. And
mm.
so I do well if I hear something rather than someone like lecturing me and seeing it. And so that has really helped me too.
I really appreciate how you took I don't know, responsibility. You showed some agency by realizing that in that first year, your purpose in being in those spaces was to learn, to ingest, to reflect, to like make meaning before engaging in the process, right? Sometimes I think we are in those places and we're like, okay, well, if everyone else is starting and they're in the same cohort or group that I'm in, shouldn't I be starting too? And then we don't give ourselves that space to say, actually, I just need a year to like fully, deeply engage in this work outside of like putting something down on paper, committing to submission. And I think, it goes back to that comment that was made. Like, I think that shows a level of vulnerability and like real intention to do what you know makes the most sense for you so that you can enter into this process feeling confident, having a good foundation. And it sounds like in that pause and waiting, now you're even more equipped to help someone who says, hey, I'm lost and I don't know where to start.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. And it may not have been such a big elephant for you after hearing about your journey and your intentionality into submission. But oftentimes, score release and getting that first set of scores and seeing your feedback statements on your score report is a heavy thing that candidates engage in, right? It is sometimes the elephant in the room. So I'm wondering if you can pull back the curtain for us a little bit. You received your first set of scores, and what was that like for you? Like, how did you take in the feedback? How have you used it to shape what you're going to submit this year? Just share it all.
So it was funny because my mentor was, Dr. Esme was like, all right, I'll be up at midnight if you want to share. And I said, girl, it's a normal day for me. I said, I am not going to stay up till midnight. When I wake up in the morning, I will look at my scores. And she goes, you're like the only person. I said,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's because, like, I'm not certifying this year. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not now this year I will stay up, but I'm like, it's going to be okay. Like, I have faith in how everyone has helped me. I had so many revisions. And so, like, it's going to be okay. And so when I got my scores, I actually was very pleased with them. I'm like, yes, I didn't fail. I was like, this is good for me. And so now, like, my four was my four wasn't bad. I was happy, like I don't have to redo it. And so that's good enough for me.
There you go.
And so I had to, it just said to provide more clearer evidence for,
Mm-hmm.
like my student growth and my students' performance, which is crazy because I was like, I added a lot. But that's good to know for my C3 to make sure that I'm very more clear than I thought I was. And I'm actually more excited for the video aspect, especially when you post on social media, and I'm like, this I can do. I can go out there and show someone how I'm teaching and it just works out. And my kids are kind of used to it because I've been practicing with them and I'm like, all right, this is our time. I just pretend like it's not here. And, um, I had someone actually look at my video at the conference and she gave me really good feedback. And so she goes, I'm happy that your kids are like dancing and doing all the things because that shows that they're happy to be in the space that's them in their natural habitat. That's how they like to move and show that they're learning. And so with scores, I'm just happy I'm not going to have to go back and redo 4 and 2.
And it sounds like, and I think this is important too for listeners to hear. Like, you can be happy with the outcome of your scores and still apply the feedback that's provided, right? This idea of more clarity with evidence. Like, I've already heard you say, okay, I'm going to be very intentional in C3 to make sure it's clearer than even I think I can be, right? Sounds like it's going to be like crystal as you like go through and connect all the standards and the 5 core props and making sure that you're attending to the written commentary. So I love how you're already internalizing that. Yes, I'm happy with my score and I did receive feedback that I'm going to apply moving forward. And I just also want to shout out the fact that you were, well, one, yes, you are on social media. So I think the thing that causes a lot of people to like catch their breath is this idea of, I'm going to have to be on camera teaching. Like for some people, that's harder, right? But something that you brought up, and it sounds like in the feedback provided by whether it was an NBCT or another teacher, was like having your kids be kids in the video. It took me a long time to really like own that that was going to provide more evidence and clarity, even in my own practice, because part of you is like, okay, I'm going to be on camera. I want, I don't know if I want to go as far as perfection, but like I want them to like look like they're engaged, right? And that they're
Yes.
paying attention, they're doing all the things. And no matter how hard you try to set that up, your students are going to be who your students are, right? For them, this camera in the room is just like, okay.
Yes. And for anyone who's recording, and I just want to throw out there that in my video, I have a student like waving at the camera probably every 4 minutes just to let, like, he wants to let them know, like, hey, I'm here, you know? So I went with it. I said, this is who he is. Sounds good. He's listening.
Same, same. I had a student who was voguing in part of my video, and I mean, I just spoke to it, right? Like, I spoke to the instructional decision I made. I spoke to why I didn't or did redirect the student. Was it impacting their learning? Like, so I just want listeners to understand, like, let your students be who they are, and that potentially could be the evidence that you're including in your writing. So, like, don't stress. The kids can vogue, the kids can dance, like
Yes.
they'll be okay. So we know that you're submitting two components this year. So I'm
Yes.
wondering now that we know that you just come back from this conference, what are you going to prioritize for yourself as you work towards submission?
So right now, 3 is what I'm working on right now. My first video is done and I'm on my written commentary for the first video. And I'm kind of wanting to finish my commentary first before I do the second video,
Mm,
depending I always change my mind, but I was just really happy to get my video done. My
yeah,
next one's going to be a small group video because the first one's whole group. And so that is my big plan. And then my goal is to submit it in April when submissions open because I do not want to do what I did last time and submit it like 3 days before it's due. I'm like, no, I need to stay focused. And I will. I will get it done. And so then I can start prepping for C1. I will say I'm a little anxious for C1 because testing is my weakest
mm,
strength, I would say. And so just doing all the different practice writings. My PLF has us write for 30 minutes so we can get used to what it's going to be like. So that's been helpful too.
that is really helpful feedback and advice. A lot of candidates we hear from have the most tension with C1, and I think it's right. Part of it's because it's not in your control of like your classroom, your practice that you can speak to, and whether it's because you have testing anxiety or just like the format is so different. So I love the idea of like spending those 30 minutes and just trying on the prompt and getting to be able to put something on paper. So when it's in real life, those 30 minutes don't feel like 15.
Yeah.
So with that, I love your plan for your C3 submission. And I have to give it to you, even 3 days in advance. Thumbs up to you. There have been times where we see, candidates who are like, okay, 11:57,
Oh, I
day
could not.
of.
I could
So
not.
So I'm gonna give kudos to you, and I love how you're already naming that like that submission pattern for you may have heightened anxiety last year, so you're gonna try for April. But also, I want to give you permission and flexibility that if May 1st is where you land, that's exactly where you need to be, right? Um,
Yes.
so give yourself that space and grace. So a lot has happened. We know where your journey is taking you now as far as the process. I'm sure you're going to have some more wonderful professional opportunities coming up on the horizon, just because that seems like who you are as a professional. And so I'm curious, is there anything that you're planning for coming up, either about the process or just in general of your professional life, that you're excited about, that you're planning for? Just as a kind of wrap up.
I am in this season where I applied to so many different fellowships over the summer for like summer PD. So I'm in the waiting season to see if I got
Wow.
in. And so if I do get in, my summer will be very full with all the things. And I'm just wanting to connect with a bunch of teachers and continue to find ways to, make education the forefront for people to want to keep talking about and how we can make it better, make a difference.
I love that. So, Kiki, I always like to close with either words of wisdom that one day you might need to hear yourself, or ones that you would want to share with the audience. I'm curious if there's anything that's sitting with you today as we end this conversation. Is there something that you want to provide as advice to those who might be listening? Maybe someone is in the thick of it and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through. I don't know if this process is for me. Or even something that in a month or two, you play back this episode and current, who will be past Kiki, is actually having a message for future Kiki. Any of those.
My best advice, I would say, is to find your people. Find your people who have the same passion and fire. I think fire is the biggest one that wants to keep
Mm,
going and seeing what can you push your boundaries to and what can you do to make an impact in your community. And so you can do hard things. That's what I always tell my kids. You can do hard things.
I love it. And I agree so much. And so next time, Kiki, I promise this, we won't wait too long to have a little chitty chat.
Sounds good.
So we'll be in contact sooner than later. Wishing you all the best on submission, and I can't wait to get another text and or email of someone saying like, "Hey, this is Kiki, right?"
Yes.
Thanks so much, Kiki.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.